All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to this episode of Bullets, Barbells, and Barbecue. I'm your host, Brett. Chris and Tanner, are not here. Matt is back. Sorry. Woo. He is back.
I will say, like, I ran out of diesels, so I can't crack the can. So
sorry.
My fault.
Well, we got a lot of whiskey we got to work through. We got Golden Sheaf over there. We got a couple bottles people gave us. We did, anybody who was looking to try the new Crown single malt, we did try it, and it will fucking take the varnish off your woodwork. That was
rough.
Dude, that was, as soon as it, like, the first bit of the liquid touched my mouth, I was like, oh, this is...
I done. It's like you need Morgan Freeman there, and that's when he knew he done fucked up.
Oh, man, it was... So on our 100th anniversary, so a good friend of mine got me a bottle of the Crown XR, the Crown 30 year. And we saved it till our 100th episode. And we all took a shot of it at 6 in the morning. And it was, if you've ever had the Crown XR, this is a little more aggressive.
It was aggressive.
Of a mouthfeel, we'll call it. And then the single malt made that 30 year look like child's play. I had a client who found some for me, so they grabbed it for me. Man.
Yeah.
So anyway, we have a lot of like liquor to work through.
Sorry, show partners.
Yeah. We tried to get Golden Sheaf to be a show partner, but I
found some more of their maple syrup cask bourbon is at Hy-Vee on 90th and Center.
And yeah, if you guys haven't tried Golden Sheaf, we had him on here. I can't remember what episode it is, but look back. And he's a really cool guy. He's got a cool story. We did actually two 1 hour episodes with him. That was the only podcast that was the first time I had to get up and pee because it went so long. But yeah, back to our show partners. We have Elite Nutrition Omaha. Check them out at elitenutritionomaha.com. Use code B3 at checkout for 10% off, or you can go to the store in Omaha or their new store in Lincoln and yell B3 and get a free shaker. Matt really fucked it up this time. He nailed it last time.
Would do it. That's how Tanner would do it.
We also have Rosewood Block. They make the best cutting boards and barbecue. Check them out at rosewoodblock.com. Use code B3 at checkout for 10% off. And if you follow Rosewood Block on Instagram, or if you don't, you should. They're making all kinds of stuff. They made one that looked like Thor's hammer for somebody.
Oh, they're doing like custom boards or something now? Or?
Well, it looked like a hammer. I don't know how they got that deal. Which, I mean, I know her, so I could probably get something. But they're doing countertops for some people. Wow. And then I need to message them and ask, because they had a post about going into stores and they tagged Ace Hardware. So I'm going to find out, because if they're going to be available in the local Ace Hardwares, you guys could go there and get just their stock boards, which their stock boards are great. I have almost all mine are custom except I have a brisketeer that's just an American flag that I actually used to cut on. I cut on this one here because I forgot a board and we made some beef ribs on it. So
it still looks pretty fucking good.
Yeah. But yeah, check them out, and you can use that code B3 at checkout for 10% off there. If you like the boost boards, me and Ron from Helping You Barbecue here in Omaha, we're talking for what Rosewood makes and what they charge is like way more affordable than a boost board that same size.
I'm not familiar with the boost board.
The boost boards are, or however you want to say them, it's BOOS.
Okay.
Boost or booze, whatever. They're like on every show on the Food Network. That's the cutting boards they use on there. So they sell them around Omaha's different places. I'm sure they sell them all over, obviously. But they make great boards too, but the price versus what you can get with Rosewood, I believe Rosewood's pricing is better. Nice. And they're a family-owned company. Rosewood is also. Mm-hmm. So, and like, if you watch Meat Church videos, all of his boards are Rosewood Block. Yeah. So anyway, Matt's going to be a prepper now. So
I'm tinkering with it. Not quite full-blown Tanner mode, but we had that storm come through on Tuesday that just fucking crushed everything in our area, and out of power for roughly 3 days. CenturyLink has now told me that internet will be back up on Monday, today being Saturday.
And it went out on Wednesday?
It went out on Tuesday night.
Tuesday night.
Yep. but yeah, and so I had a generator that we bought last year. So I had that up and running and like ready to go ish. But like I didn't have like a cord situation figured out for it yet. I was like, oh, I just got this generator. I know which outlet I'm going to plug it into and how I'm going to run that. And then, so we hooked it up, started doing that, turned on all the freezers, kept all the freezers and the fridges on in the house. And I was like, all right, that's cool. But like, I don't have any lights. I can't run anything else. Oh shit, we probably want water. So I should turn on my well pump. Well, the well pump, whenever it kicked on, it tripped it because it was too much juice because of the surge. Yeah. So it kicked that out. So my folks fortunately have a generator. So I ran out there, brought that one back home, got one of the guys in the area who's also on the department. We hopped on the old YouTubes and figured out how to parallel wire the two generators together.
Nice.
Together.
I get it. Well, you're a prepper now.
Yeah. Together.
Yeah. Words don't matter when you're a prepper.
No. And so then we had those two, but they were both different. They have different wattages. So we wired it up the first time, pushed it in. And because like the way the wiring works, when you push into the 220, like one of them pushes down one line and one of them pushes down the other line. And so when that goes into the house and your main breaker, your main feed from the street is going to be 3 lines. If you have, I think, a 200 amp service, you'd end up with 3 lines. But anyway, so like one generator essentially feeds to one half of the panel and the other generator feeds to the other half. Well, the smaller one fed to the side that had like the freezers and stuff on, so it didn't have enough juice to do that. So when they turned on, we kicked it, so we had to take it and rewire it. Anyways, we got them hooked up, and it wasn't jerry rigged, but it was sketchy.
Are you gonna get one of those Generac ones? It's like a permanent
So
one.
I've looked at those whole home ones. They have a 24 kilowatt generator. That's a whole home, about $5 or $6 grand for the generator. But you either have to wire it yourself, which I don't feel comfortable doing, or you have to hire someone to come out and do it. Generally, you do that, you need to pull a permit, and you have to have a special junction box put in for it, so that when the generator kicks on, it shuts off your service to the street.
So you don't backfeed the
so you
grid.
don't backfeed power to the grid while people are working on a line that they think is dead.
Mm-hmm. But it's a fun surprise for them.
I'm sure it is. But anyway, so all in to buy it and have it installed is closer to $15,000 to $20,000. So
now, does that have when you get those whole home ones like that are permanently wired in like that, do they have like a fuel tank? Like, can you have an external fuel tank to them?
Some of them are like that. So some of them, the usual ones are either propane or natural gas, because that's generally people.
Oh, so you can hook into your propane tank then.
So we can hook into the propane tank. Some of them are what they call tri-fuel or dual fuel. So if you have like a dual fuel, usually it's like propane and gasoline, or a tri-fuel would be natural gas, propane, or gasoline. If you want some of like the real prepper ones, those are a lot more expensive, but those will burn like kerosene, diesel, jet fuel, Everclear, like anything that'll burn, you could put in there and they work. Depending on what fuel source you put in, you get different wattages out. So they're rated at 24 kilowatts, but if you use gasoline, you get 24 kilowatts. If you use propane, maybe you only get 21. Natural gas is going to get you a little bit less. So those things kind of change, but I think what we're going to end up doing is getting 1 or 2 13 to 15 kilowatt portable generators that we can hook up, that will run on either gas or propane, that we can then have two feeds back into the main. So we'll like run them in together, they'll smush together, feed back into the main, but we'll just have an outlet outside the house, so we can set the generators out back, turn them on, plug them into the house, have the main breaker shut off to the house, and we'll go that way, and that'll be significantly less. Like those are anywhere from $1,200 to $1,800 a piece. And then plus then they become portable. You can take them if you needed to get the road or take them somewhere else. You go that route, they have 30 amp and 50 amp services on them. So
real prepper fashion.
Yes. So I think we'll end up going that route.
So have you bought a topper for your pickup yet? I feel like that's the next step.
That's probably up there on the next step.
I was going to say, because I feel like every prepper needs a topper for their truck, or they have to have like a fucking U-Haul van.
Yes. I haven't quite got that far.
Yeah.
But I was like thinking about, all right, so do we need to store water? Like, do I need to have water here? Well, if we have the well pump and I have power to the house, should have water, right? Assuming something doesn't happen to the well pump itself.
Sure.
So maybe, but at first I was surprised, and then I realized I shouldn't be surprised.
There's a lifespan on water.
The amount of articles on how to appropriately store water long term.
Yeah, I'm sure it's very temperature controlled at all times.
Yeah, so temperature controlled. Generally, the recommendation is every 6 months, swap it out. You can buy specially treated, purified water that's sealed up under pressure, and then that stuff will last longer. Like if you get like one of the fire stations here in town has a shitload of like plain label water when like Anheuser-Busch, they were giving that stuff out during disaster relief. Like they have 2 pallets of just canned water that just says water on it. So
yeah, I have some. I have one of those cans from way back in the day.
That'll last a long, long time because of how it's bottled. If you had your own, you can package it up in. They have special water storage containers anywhere from like 2.5 to 5 gallons up to like 55-gallon drums. Fill those up. There's some like bleach dosing packs you can put in there that keep them safe, that don't obviously allow you to drink massive amounts of bleach with your water. And then that stuff will last for 6 months to a year. But most of the articles seem to recommend just swapping out water every 6 months. So if like you're filling your own bottles, every 6 months, dump them out, fill them back up, treat them, close them off, call them good. So
maybe just get one of those clean water straws.
I have one. I'm sure the filter's trash, but there was a hot minute, a couple of years where we did a lot of backpacking, and so I have like one of the pumps that you can pump through to like fill up a jug with water from places. You generally have to filter it, like run it through a pre-filter to get like the chunky chunks out, but then it'll take out what's the stuff in water? Cholera? That's not cholera. It's not in water.
I don't know.
Dysentery? Maybe dysentery is in water.
Probably algae.
Yeah. One of the poopy diseases lives in water. And so you want to be able to get that out because that's bad.
Yeah. So what are you going to do for food? Or do you have those fucking jugs of food?
I don't have jugs of food.
They're basically MREs.
Yeah. We'll probably get.
There's that one company pays at Patriot something.
Yeah. That has like they always have the ads and you can get like.
It's got like that bucket. I think, is it Demolition Ranch? Weren't those the ones he had in his like bunker?
Maybe. Yeah.
I think he had something like that.
I'll probably get some of those just so I can feel like extra special. But again, the thought is if I have generators going, like I've got at least 3/4 of the cow left and just over a whole pig.
Yeah.
Plus some big buckets of rice.
But you don't, do you have a Weber?
I do not have a Weber, but I do have several fire pits. I have a solo stove, which could cook on.
That's what I kept telling old Prepper Tanner. He doesn't have a non-electric way to cook food. Yeah.
I do. It's kind of related to that. There's the Mill Scale, who makes the big smoker.
Mm-hmm.
They make I can't remember if they call it like an asado grill, but it's like a 36-inch fire pit that has a cage that sits on top of it that has like hooks that you can hang ribs and sausage to smoke from, or it has those movable things up and down. Well, that thing's like $3,000 for just the fire pit, and then it's another like $3,000 for the cage. And so my brother, they work with a shit ton of steel making stuff for the railroad, and so I sent him a picture. I'm like, hey, can you make this? Even if you made like the base square, like, do you think you can make this? And he's like, probably. He's like, it's not going to look like that. I'm like, that's fine. Like, if you can make that, like, let me know what that costs.
Yeah, I looked at Milsk. I looked at their like one of their little yakatoris.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that's not bad. It was like $1,500, and that's like you get nothing else. Like if you want like a stand for it, if you want like fucking anything, then all of a sudden it's like $3,000.
Etsy has a surprising amount of grills like that are like freestanding yakatoris that you like build a like a cinder block fire base for it, and then you put this thing on top of it, and some of them are like on a cart with big steel wheels and all this good stuff, and like crazy amount of shit out there.
I mean, I got the drum and I got a green egg, so
yeah. I mean, you're probably pretty. So the drum's money. The drum is probably one of the cooler non-electric cookers
Yeah. The only thing that green egg though, once you get it rolling, like I made like 6 pounds of wings on it the other day, and that thing just fucking holds temperature. I went out 2 hours later after I closed it up, and it was maybe 2.5 hours later. It was still 200 degrees.
Jesus.
And I only had it it was like around 400 to like 415, and it was like probably 2.5 hours later, and it was still at 200. Like I couldn't put the cover back on it yet.
Whew.
And anybody out there who has a green egg and doesn't use it regularly, the old tip I always forget is if you want to run it at 400, you have to leave it wide open until it's like 450 and then start closing it down to where you want it. Because if you try to close it down, it will never like reach that temperature forever. You know what I mean? So you just keep it wide open, and once it starts cruising, and it takes time, and it's one of those things I felt like, and I was just hanging out outside. When you stare at it, it takes forever.
Yeah.
Because you're watching that dome, probe go real slow, and then it just like will start fucking taking off.
Yeah.
Yeah, leave it all wide open. When I light it, I leave the lid open for quite a while, and then I'll leave the dampener and the vent on the bottom just wide open until it gets rolling. But that fucking thing, but putting wings on there, I singed. Because if you haven't used one, there's the indirect heat plate, and it's kind of like a weird, like triangle-y kind of shape. I don't even know what you would call that shape. So it lets the heat come around in 3 points, like 3 kind of like ovally shaped points where the heat comes through. Well, that also, and maybe I can maybe turn it, I guess. But when you're putting stuff on there, that heat is just blasting your arm while you're putting stuff on there. Fucking just roasted all the hair off the bottom side of my arm. But it makes such good. Like I just had some hickory chunks on there with lump charcoal. I mean, the wood. If you have the time, the wood is a different flavor than the pellets for sure.
Oh yeah.
Pellets are so easy. I'll never get rid of a pellet grill, but if you have the time, to get it going, even to 400, you're probably talking 20, 30 minutes by the time it's going to be at your cooking temperature, which is fine if you're prepping something. But once you get to 400, I do wings. I do 10 to 12 minutes aside.
Yep.
I just rip them off there. Flip
Do you
them
leave the top open when you cook them, or you have put them on there 10 minutes with the lid closed? I
close the lid, yeah. So I close it down. Once I get to 400, I close, and I have one of the guys here at the gym sent me this green egg picture, and it shows like what you're supposed to set the vents at. It's supposed to be the temperatures, which the only problem with the green egg versus the drum doesn't have, if it's windy and the wind is slamming into that vent, it changes. Whereas the drum, your vents are all vertical, so the wind does not affect them. But they make a shorty travel drum. It's like $600, I think.
Yeah.
It's like I think it's a 30 gallon, but like cut in half kind of.
Yeah.
So you can travel with it easier.
Nice.
So, but yeah, if you're looking for a non-electric cooker for prepper reasons, obviously you got the old Weber's. Yep. But if you look at like a green egg or the drum, the only reason I say I like the drum, don't get me wrong, when it's real cold out, if you're talking straight up prepper shit here and it's real cold, the drum will get, but you're fighting the cold. You're going to burn more fuel. Now, if you're talking about conserving your fuels, a green egg is that thick ceramic, so it can hold temperature in cold weather way better.
When the rival tribes come through and they want to like take over your territory,
and the green egg is heavy as fuck.
Yeah, taking the green egg with you becomes tough.
Yes, because I have the XL. If you're going to buy one, don't get the large. Get the XL. If you're a man of any stature, get the XL just because it's like the right size. Like I said, I can put 6 pounds of wings on it, and that's keeping it over the indirect, because if you start getting over the open areas, you get all the flame ups, and then you start getting extra crispy fucking wings. But yeah, those two, I think either one of those two, they're super fun to work with. And then even the green egg, ThermalWorks makes a probe with a fan, their billows fan, that will turn the fan off and on to stoke your fire for you.
Oh, okay.
For like a long smoke, you can put it in the vent, and it'll run that whole. And the drums might now too, I don't know, but it goes right in the bottom vent, and it'll tell you where to set the dampener on top, and it'll turn that. And you have a probe up on the grate, and it feeds this thing and tells the ThermalWorks probe to turn that fan off and on.
Oh shit!
And so it'll stoke the fire for you. So if you're gonna do 12, 13, 14 hour smoke, and you don't want to have to really babysit it the whole time, fill it with fuel. So you have plenty in there, because what Ron tells you get like 19 hours or something like that.
Yeah,
he said
he's done a shitload of time.
Yeah, because here's the thing: is you can fill, if you want, on a green egg, if you're going to go low and slow, you can fill it clear full, because you don't need the airflow. Because your ash bucket thing you can pick up out of there is vented, right? And then that's how you get your airflow through. It's basically just a looks like a short bowl with a bunch of holes in it. And then all your ash falls through to the bottom. And that's why the Green Egg, they make this little L-shaped tool. So you can go in your door and you can out of the vent and then pull all your ash out if you want to. But if you want to get it super hot, you don't want that much because you want as much airflow as you can to hammer through there.
Yep.
So put in what you think you're going to use. Like if you're going to do wings and you're really going to have it going for an hour, you don't need to have it quite as full. And then I usually get the lump charcoal rolling really good, and then I put the wood chunks in.
Gotcha.
I've never tried straight wood in the Green Egg, but I know you can do straight lump charcoal with nothing because that's still wood flavored. I mean, it still has the...
Yeah.
And when I bought my sister a smoker after the Nader when she lost hers, and I just grabbed some, I was at Cabela's, I just grabbed some lump charcoal for it. Didn't pay attention, just grabbed some Blues Hog, and it was lump charcoal logs. And they were like shorter, but they were like logs instead of like the ones that look like bark, you know? And she said they were like really nice to use because they're really like easy and they're clean to use. So I didn't know that was out there.
Fair enough. Yeah.
But Blues Hog makes some good stuff. They make some good barbecue sauce too. And they also, I think, weirdly enough, I don't know if they own Gateway Smoker or Gateway Drum Smokers, but their shit's like all over it. I didn't research into it.
Oh.
But if you've ever watched any of the barbecue shows that Michael Simon on Food Network has a barbecue show where he goes around a bunch of the contests, and the guys from Blues Hog built like the world's biggest drum smoker. And it's like fucking massive. I mean, I think it's like
a grain silo?
It's like 4 or 5 feet across.
Jesus.
And they were doing a whole hog on it. Like it's crazy. I can't remember what that show was called, Barbecue USA or something like that.
Yeah.
It's had 2 seasons, last couple of years I've had seasons on. But yeah, they bring that thing out. It's fucking huge. Obviously the lid is like a hydraulic assist lid for them to get it open. But yeah, it's fucking massive.
I saw someone did a whole leg of beef on a Timberline XL. So I'm like, okay.
Do you still like your Timberline XL?
I would have got the Ironwood XL.
What do you think Traeger's plan is now? Because I think with the Timberline XL, this is just my opinion. Anybody out there can disagree, and you can disagree. I think for what they are, they're starting to price themselves out of the market.
The Timberline XL is a big dick in the ass.
Because you can buy a Yoder for close to the same price that, why is it YS 640 or something like that? And that thing's made out of like 1/4-inch steel.
1/4-inch steel.
It's got big fucking wheels on it.
Big
like
wheels, stuff like that. Like so the Timberline XL is fantastic if you have...
And this is not me shitting on Matt Smoker. It's a beautiful smoker.
I'll shit on it.
Yeah.
So like I would have bought the Ironwood XL instead of the Timberline XL if I had known that they were coming out with it. Because the Timberline XL is a bigger smoker. So you have more volume, you can do more meat inside of it.
Yep.
Which is a big upside. It has the cabinet underneath, so you have like storage for shit. The pellet dump is super cool, and you have the induction burner on the side. That stuff is really cool. The upside, the Timberline XL is great for a place like...
I'm just showing Matt a picture of the Blues Hog. It's a 500 gallon. They call it the Mega Drum. So if you look up Blues Hog Mega Drum Smoker, that's a whole hog on there.
God.
Yeah, not to interrupt. Yeah, then it shows a guy standing in it. Yeah. So yeah, I think they must own Gateway also.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you want a drum smoker, Gateway drum smokers, check them out. But yeah.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
The Timberline XL, like Pittman's arrangement where he has like that pavilion, or if you have a covered place where you can keep it and like you'll be outside and you want to cook your sides on it and you can keep stuff stored under it and you have access to it, I think it's awesome. Like uncovered, I think it looks really cool.
Yeah, they're pretty.
It's a really good looking smoker. It works really well. It does all that cool stuff. In the arrangement that I have, it is outside and downstairs. So I haven't used the induction burner once. I turned it on to make sure it works, but I haven't used it because I don't have a prep area. I don't have anywhere close to go over. Now maybe whenever we get around to doing the deck and it's upstairs and I can just walk right outside to go do it, maybe I'll do that more frequently. But the quality, the craftsmanship, everything, like all that stuff is cool, but it's really expensive, and there's some of those functions only work in certain scenarios. Whereas like the Timberline XL is a slightly smaller smoker. You get the pellet dump, the grease trap. You don't get the under storage cabinet. You still have a shelf underneath there, but it's more of like, I don't want to call it just a smoker, but it's more of a smoker than it is like a centerpiece cooking station.
Less bells and whistles.
Yeah. Now I think, but and honestly, I think where the Timberline XL would excel is in a built-in situation where you could have it, because you can get just the smoker itself, and you can build it into an outdoor countertop.
Oh, sure.
And if you did that with your induction burner off to the side, like, fuck yeah, super fucking cool. But that's where I think it was the biggest non-ridiculous smoker at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I really wanted something with more volume, Wi-Fi, more control, and some of those things. And that was really the only one on the market at the time. Yoder was still a little bit more. I think they've added some stuff to Yoder since then. Camp Chef was one that I looked at. So was Pitts and Spitz.
Mm-hmm.
Were a couple of the others that I looked at. But really it was the volume from the Timberline XL that was kind of like the tipping point.
When mine's, because I have a Timberline 1300, which was like the series before yours.
Yep.
And it's been a good smoker. I mean, I've started on fire a couple times.
Started mine on fire once.
But yeah, when that comes time for that one, I'll probably heavily look at the Yoders, or I'll see what Traeger has done. Because Traeger's always treated me well over the years. But I'll probably look at the Yoders.
Yeah, and I will. Like, I haven't had the experience yet, but the place I bought it through, and I get a lot of my stuff through, is that Northwest Feed and Grain.
Mm-hmm.
And he has a dozen stories of Traeger customer service coming through just fucking clutch.
Yeah, no, I had great time with him too.
Like, people needed stuff repaired. The one that he always brings up is Thanksgiving, Wednesday before Thanksgiving. A guy's in there, he's got his smoker going, and the control board goes out. And so they're like, hey, yeah, we'll overnight you one 100%, but you're not going to get it till Friday because of the holiday. And the guy's like, well, I'm going to use it tomorrow for this turkey. And he's on speakerphone with customer service and Darren out at Northwest. And the guy from Traeger was like, hey, Darren, like, we show that you have one in stock. Can you just give him that one? And then we'll ship you another one, and then we'll throw in some extra goodies for it. And he's like, yeah, sure. So he just gave him that board. Cool. That guy went home, smoked. They sent Darren a new board, and then they sent him like a handful of like some like Traeger merch to just go ahead and sell or do whatever with. It was like a thank you for hooking him up.
Yeah, that's cool. But yeah, so you need a non-electric cooker for your.
Yep. So I need that. I need to figure out the power situation for I need to figure out what kind of generator situation I want.
And then you got to figure out your weapons of choice.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, and all those are downstairs. Funny enough, like, we have the gun safe downstairs, but most of the handguns I keep in a drawer in my office because I carry them. So I'm like, I'm going to take this one today.
Yeah.
And so those just kind of sit up there. But I honestly, Erin took it with her today, but I've been really liking that 365 XL, that SIG, the Rose edition. Like,
oh yeah, the one that. So you bought it for her, for yourself?
Yeah, I got it for her, and
it's like Homer buying the bowling ball for Marge.
I was like, I really like the gun. I'm really curious about the 365X Macro. That has like the shorter upper.
It gets to be a pickle for someone with big hands sometimes.
Well, the Macro has the 17 round. It has the full size grip on it.
Okay.
The 365 Micro gets really small, I think, because that's the small one. But the 365 XL is a 13 plus 1, 12 plus 1. And that one has a little tiny grip, but it feels like it's great to hold on to. Like, I really like it.
Yeah, we got to do our shooting reviews sometime. We got to figure that out.
Yeah.
We'll just go up and set up out at your house, and we'll all bring guns out and shoot random and give reviews for everyone. Anything from rifles to pistols to whatever. Maybe some shotguns. I don't have that many shotguns.
I think I just have the two hunting shotguns.
Yeah, I have an 870, and then I have a Browning like Gold Hunter, like semi-auto.
Yeah.
And I have a Keltec KSG.
Is that the quad barrel, the 2-barrel, or the
two loading tubes,
Yeah.
the 14+1.
Yeah. They make a 28-inch version of that now. That's like a 22+1 or something like that.
Mm.
It's a very long gun.
They have that one that you were talking about where you just rotate it. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like you just rotate that one's kind of crazy. But I have a few things I haven't shot.
Yeah. And I saw, what was the other one I saw that I just thought was ridiculous? Oh, an aluminum Desert Eagle.
I saw that Trump Desert Eagle last year. They made a Trump one, the 45th president one. But I had like 4 people send it to me.
Weird.
Yeah. But yeah, it was like $2,500 or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I didn't pay that for because I have the all black Desert Eagle.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't pay $2,500 for that gun.
I find myself defaulting more. I kind of go in spurts of being like wanting to go 100% utilitarian for anything that I own. Like, what's something that I could buy that I could use in multiple situations?
Yeah, but then it's not as fun always.
Yeah, it's not quite as fun. Like, actually, so these shorts are super fucking comfortable, and I think I have 3 pair of them. They might all be the same color, but they are like a ripstop, somewhat stretchy material that, I mean, you could wear them just about anywhere. They're quick drying. Mm-hmm. Fantastic.
So when you dribble your pee?
Yeah, so when I dribble my pee, it goes away pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's probably something to being somewhat prepper ready. Like, even if it's as small as having some... Well, I say this, but then I also hate part of it. Like, I hate when there's going to be a snowstorm and every person... Well, actually, no, it's on the same page. They all run to the grocery store. And I was like, you don't have enough food in your house to survive. So right. I guess it all on the same thing. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with having a freezer with some food in it. Maybe the cabinets with a little bit of food in them.
Yeah.
You know, like Amber and I, we always keep these like, they're not like regular like Hot Pockets, they're little like snack ones.
Yeah.
We always keep like a couple boxes in the freezer just in case we're like going somewhere, but we're like just want like a quick snack.
Yeah.
I mean, something as dumb as that, but it's just like, it's nice because you have something.
2 or 3 days worth of stuff you should easily.
So
have
yeah, it doesn't, because I hate when I swear I'm gonna ask because one of the meteorologists in town comes to the gym and I'm gonna ask him, do you guys get kickbacks from like Hy-Vee? Because every time there's a snowstorm, like fucking Hy-Vee and Fairway like sells out over. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
First of all, you're probably not gonna lose power for multiple days.
Right.
You can walk, no matter how bad the weather is. You can walk somewhere 9 times out of 10.
Yeah.
You can't swing a dead cat without hitting like a fucking grocery store or gas station in this town. And almost every gas station sells food.
Yep.
So I don't understand that. So maybe, yeah, being a little bit of a prepper, having like the other day I was in my freezer and I was like, God, I have like 4 briskets and like some beef ribs in here. I should probably fucking make some of these things.
Right. It kind of depends on like where you're at. Like, right. Now there's a chance you're in a neighborhood.
Now where you're at, a little different. Like I grew up on a farm like 10 miles from town. Sure, we had like a time where we were stuck at our house for a few days. But my dad also butchered, sold raised cattle. So we had like 2 freezers like full of meat. Yeah. We had, we could, at any point in time, you could make like a pan of brownies at my parents' house. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
from scratch. There was like sugar, all the shit was there. But I think that's also that generation too. Always had all the baking ingredients you would need at some point to make whatever you needed to.
Yep.
But I think people have gone away from that because they're on the go so much. But yeah, you should have some things in your...
Yeah, you should be able to go a couple days at least with just whatever. Like if you were locked inside your house for a couple days, you should have whatever you need. I get that sometimes it just happens like you're right before you're going to go to the store to like stock up like whatever. And so that happens. Whatever. But like, yeah, the fact that when something bad's going to happen, immediately the stores sell it. And I think some of it is a reaction like after the tornadoes came through here. When this last storm batch was coming through, like people were freaking out, and I'm like, all right, I kind of get that, right?
Mm-hmm. Especially if you were in that Elkhorn area, you're over in that Minden area. Those people have been hit. Like, yeah, there's some PTSD there. Sure.
Yeah, but people are stocking up on the thing. Like one of the things that that we have downstairs is both Aaron and I have a duffel bag that has a pair of old shoes.
Which socks, I never thought about that until after the tornado.
Some socks, some pants, or a pair of pants, a couple shirts, and just some stuff down there. And I think even after the tornadoes, I think I threw a couple bottles of water in there. But like we just have that stuff downstairs. So like if we need to go downstairs, tornado happens, something like we've got this little bag with us. So like if something happens, like at least we have something. Now there's a friend of mine was like, well, yeah, you should, but you should also throw some like cash in there and like do some other stuff. And
Well, I was just gonna say, because if you're like with my sister's house, they had a wall safe in their closet. Luckily, it was still attached to the studs in the neighbor's yard. But you have to think, if you have a safe upstairs, my sister had a green egg, and green eggs aren't light, and that part of that was gone. So just to be like, oh, I have my safe, there's no way. Now, if it's like 1,000-pound safe, it might not take that.
Yeah.
But like I have a nightstand safe, like a gun safe, but it only weighs a couple hundred pounds. Maybe have some of that shit in the basement too. Like, if you're keeping all your cash and like maybe your important papers, you should move that safe into the basement.
Yeah, and that's where kind of like at least where we have it in a situation, it's we have a basement bathroom, and in that bathroom is a water closet where our pressure tank is for our well. And right now we just have it with some plastic shelves that keeps just random stuff in there. Like, would it be more ideal to wheel over, like put a safe in there and bolt it to the ground? And then like you can put passports, cash, stuff like that. Because even like a 400-pound safe that's bolted to the ground, like chances are that's not going anywhere.
Well, and yeah, and I think basement stuff, because like I think I told you when we went to my sister's, the part of their house that got ripped off, they had a bar that was down below it, and there was a refrigerator with like an LED TV that I literally like picked up with one hand, so it probably weighed 5 pounds, was not even moved. I think the whole tornado thing is very much about lift.
Right.
So I think most of the things in your basement probably won't move, but they're probably going to get wet.
Right. They're going to get wet. Stuff's going to fall on them.
Yeah.
And smash and stuff. So there's like that fine line, right, of like you should be prepared for stuff. But the other part of it, I think, is like having a mental plan for like what happens afterwards. Right. So say something does happen and your house gets totally obliterated. Like, what do you do?
Well, in like that same sense, I keep going back to that, but they walked out of there. They didn't have any shoes in the basement. I never thought of that, but they walked out of their house and the siren started going off again.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it happened in Grand Island. I'm sure it's happened other places. Multiple tornadoes can hit in one area. So just because the one goes through doesn't always mean that the party's over.
Yeah.
So yeah, having that little prepper stuff or a little bug out bag.
Yeah.
You know, if you have guns upstairs, maybe if you know the tornado's coming, you should take those guns downstairs.
Right.
And with all the warning signs, you know, now it's not very often a tornado just drops out of the sky and no one knows it's coming. Like you usually probably have 10, 15, 20 minutes, worst case scenario. Right. So like you should be able to grab, you know, your shoes. You already have it downstairs, but prescriptions, your glasses.
Yeah. Like what are the things that,
you know, like if you have like your mom's jewelry or your wedding, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. You want to grab some, you know, sentimental keepsake value stuff to you. If you have guns, you don't want those just blowing around your fucking neighborhood.
Yep.
Obviously, I heard from people you want to keep your sex toys and dildos in check because those were just flying around everywhere.
Right. You could put someone's eye out.
Yeah. You don't want to be the guy that killed a neighbor with your dildo. So, you know,
unintentionally.
Get that down in the basement. But yeah, just.
Yeah. And some of it is like when the storm's going to happen, like, sure, grab some of that stuff and move it. Like, ideally, you go your entire life moving stuff downstairs in preparation of a storm that never hits. Like that's totally cool, and everyone's gonna think you're a fucking weirdo. It's like, oh, there's Matt taking his duffel bag of shit downstairs again, until it happens.
Oh yeah, dude, it's like when we went to Mexico, my friend's mom went. She was Filipino, and she had everything in her bag. She had like a snack. She had a first aid kit. Yeah, like in her like regular carry bag. Everybody probably was like, oh, why does your mom bring all that shit? And then somebody cut their finger and his mom was like, oh, here's a Band-Aid. And you're like, safe?
Yeah, everyone out east, and I don't remember if I talked about it on here, but like everyone out east gives me shit when I travel out there because I have like an IFAC, an individual first aid kit that I have in my bag that has 2 tourniquets, an Israeli compression bandage, a couple like wound stuffing bandages, chest seals, trauma shears, an NPA, and some other stuff in there. And that's just in my bag when I travel. And sure, like ideally it just sits in my bag and I don't do anything with it. But like if you need it, that's the difference between someone staying alive and not. And so
I cut my finger last night and luckily somebody had a first aid kit.
Right. So I mean you do stuff like that and you're prepared, and it doesn't have to be Like it doesn't have to be your identity and like this big deal, but it's just like if you just do some of those little things, then when stuff does happen, you're like, all right, cool. At least I'm 70% prepared versus 10% prepared.
Yeah, having, just like I said, basic stuff. Having some extra food in your freezer.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes Amber and I's fridge, I look at it and I was like, there's really nothing to eat, but there's things in the freezer.
Grapes. Yuck.
Yeah. Well, there's some things in the freezer that I could thaw out quick, put them underwater and thaw them out, and within an hour have something to cook and use on my non-electric cooker if I need to. You know what I mean? So, yeah, none of that's a bad idea. Not everything means you're a crazy prepper.
No, it's being prepared, and I'm sure everyone's seen the Facebook, Instagram image of like the samurai standing there in the shadows, right? And it's like better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in the war, right? Mm-hmm. And so like it's just about being prepared and aware. And I think part of it is a big chunk of it is just like the mental readiness. Like by taking some of these actions, you're at least mentally preparing yourself for some of this stuff. And the more mental reps you get through that, the more adept and more apt you are going to be to succeed in those those situations.
Well, and it's kind of like we've talked about before. Even, you're like, oh, I keep a gun by my bed. Okay, but have you ever walked around your house at night in the dark with that gun? And like, have you ever like, quote unquote, like practice clearing your house? Yeah. If someone has come into your, if you think someone's in your house, do you know? I mean, because you have the advantage, you know your house better than they do.
Right.
But have you actually like walked around with a gun in the dark and felt good? Because have you ever heard a noise in your house and you go walk around with a gun? Because it still makes you nervous because you don't know if someone's in there. So you're at a higher alert. So it kind of gets you like, but yeah, I think there's nothing wrong with doing that either. Every once in a while, but your wife might think you're crazy, but you're just like, hey.
Yeah. I mean, it's
in the dark, walk around your house.
And it's little things that were weird when I started doing them, but now it's just what I do. Like, going to restaurants, right?
And your gun doesn't have to be loaded to do this, by the way, if you're just doing it for practice.
Yes.
If you think someone's in the house, I've been waiting to shoot somebody. Make sure you lay that motherfucker down.
Someone breaks into your house. Yeah. But yeah, if you're training to clear your house, please use an empty weapon.
Yes.
Like no magazine. Like, and make sure the chamber's empty. Put in an empty chamber flag if you have. Like, just let's throw that out there.
Let's clarify that. We don't need any liabilities there.
Yeah, but going out places like restaurants, public areas, generally try to have my back against a wall so I can see the room, or even if it's not against the wall, but like I can just see the majority of the room, what's going on. Walking downtown when I'm going through like the cities, because like most places I go, I can walk to where I need to go. Like I look around because I'm just observing the city, but also I do a lot of walking early in the morning or late at night. And sometimes there's sketchy areas, but if you're just constantly looking around, like you get to kind of look and observe the city, but also like I'm looking in the glass of the windows of the buildings as I'm passing by. Like the guy behind me, like, is he sketchy? I don't know, but I also don't know who he is. So I can look around and I can see the glass across the street, and I can see, did that guy turn around or did that guy keep walking?
Sure.
And so there's
just being aware of your surroundings.
There's those little things like that at first they seem kind of weird. And like when you talk to someone, like I've told this to my wife and other people, and they're like, Matt, that's fucking weird. I'm like, it is until it saves my life.
Well, it's like, have you ever had somebody that you feel like well, maybe not now, but when you lived in town, where you feel like someone has followed you to your neighborhood?
Yeah.
And so you don't turn onto your block, you drive to the next one?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's just being aware of what's going on. Like, you should know how long a car's been behind you. Mm-hmm. And that also goes for every one of you motherfuckers that doesn't drive the speed limit. When someone is fucking behind you, get over. I was on the interstate last night, and this fucking lady was going like 55.
In a 35?
No, on the interstate. And then we were driving, and Amber's like, well, they're going 65. I go, yeah, the speed limit's 65. No one goes 65 in a 65.
That's true. Yeah.
I was like, fuck. Pay attention. Oh, and then I was trying to find a parking spot last night because Amber had an event. Like, I drove around Midtown Crossing like 5 times. And the first time I got stuck behind, I think she was like a high school girl, and would just like randomly like slow down because I could see her text. I could see her phone. through the window. She's texting. And then like we get to a stop sign. Well, that's automatically just like you can just complete every text message or Snapchat you've ever needed
Get
to.
caught up on today's Instagram.
And I was like, dude, fuck. And then when they turn, it's like super slow because they're still texting back. And I'm like, yeah, just be aware of your surroundings. That's just to be a decent human as well.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, there's a lot of things that I think you can be prepared for. There's Mike Glover has a book called Prepped. I think it's Prepped. It's either Prepped or Prepper. I think it's Prepped, and it's fantastic. Like if you're interested in any of that prepping stuff, he has some really cool. Bushcraft Survival, I think, is his company. He actually got flagged as a domestic terrorist initially.
Isn't that the Andy Frisella keeps trying to get on that list?
Yeah, so he did, but like when it happened to him, and I heard this story a long time ago, so I'm probably going to get a lot of it wrong. But the general gist of it was he had his bushcraft survival company. They started talking about like being prepared, being able to be independent of the government, being able to be independent of the general infrastructure. So you could be self-sufficient if you had to or wanted to. And they started doing some like training videos and stuff, and then got flagged as a domestic terrorist, which immediately obviously puts you on domestic no-fly lists. So that was cool. But then it also hits international databases as a terrorist and puts you on no-fly lists. His assets, both foreign and domestic, got frozen.
Cool.
His company essentially came to a screeching halt. He was able to get stuff back up and running, but it took, I'm not even going to say the time because I don't remember, but it was a good chunk of time to get cleared off of the no-fly list, but then even longer time to get cleared off the international no-fly list, because that stuff's like housed in some IT server bank in like India. And so it took like government intervention to get him cleared off of that list.
And you call India, and it's a guy who says his name is Steve.
Tom.
Yeah, Tom. I was like, I don't believe you.
Sally? Bullshit. But yeah, so like if you want like real world prepper stuff that's really fucking good, Mike Glover, Bushcraft Survival, I think is what it is, and Prep is his book. They're really, really good stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, just be prepared for anything. Have some food in the freezer.
Yeah.
Have your pills ready to take in your pills and dildos ready to take in the basement.
Yes.
Contacts, glasses, whatever you got. Your animals.
Yep. And keep a condom full of cash that you can just slide it up there.
Yeah, if you got a keister to get out.
Yep.
But yeah, so yeah, you don't have to be some extreme prepper. Just some basic prepping is never a problem, especially talk to these people in Elkhorn and Minden and some of these other local towns here where we're at.
Right.
They got hit by the tornadoes, and they'll tell you, man, I never would have thought of this. I wish I would have.
Yeah.
You know, as their pocket pussy and dildo are laying in the neighbor's yard. You know, I don't know how much you can clean those to get them back to life. I don't know. Do you tell your insurance company?
I think you got to claim that stuff.
Yeah. Do you claim that? I mean, I don't know. And what's the value? Because what if it was like
a custom mold?
Yeah. I mean, what's the value? What if that was like your favorite one you've had since you were like 13?
Your mom gave it to you.
Yeah. So a lot of things you got to think about, you know. But yeah, I think that's what we got for that.
Yep.
And then next Saturday, we're heading down to Abilene, Kansas.
It's going to be so cool.
We're going to talk with Al Meyer, who do a little research. Al's part of the USAWA, they did like all the old school lifts, like the Steinborn squat, like before there were racks, the Jefferson lift back in the day before it got kind of popularized by Massonomics again. Just all kinds of crazy stuff. He's got a cool setup down there. We're going to get some pictures, maybe some video. We're going to do a podcast with him. He used to train with Glenn Pendelay when they were at K-State. They used to throw Highland Games together. Yeah. So Al's seen a lot of cool things. He's a cow doc. He was like the only cow doc in the area down there. He's got a little bar in his area.
The cow tipper?
Cow tippers, right? Yeah. So it'll be cool. So this will come out Friday. We're going to head down there the next day, Saturday, do some stuff with him. But we appreciate you guys listening. We just want you to be a little less shitty every day. Like, subscribe, share, follow, tell your friends, family, tell your grandma. We're pretty cool with the grandmas.
Yeah. Every shirt that I have that has profanity on it, the older ladies always comment and say, I love that shirt.
Yes. At some point, if you want a little less shitty shirt, we have some. We need to make some more. I don't
Yep.
know. Mike thinks we need an online store. Seems like a lot. But
You do something through somewhere.
yeah, we'll figure something out. But
Yeah.
hopefully you guys had a good Independence Day. Remember why we're free and what we're free for. And
For barbecue.
yes, for barbecue, for for guns, workouts, and barbecue.
Yep.
So
So you can sumo or conventional. It's your choice.
yeah, doesn't matter if it's gay or not.
Yep.
It's your choice. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.